Hi, thanks for tuning in. I'm just reflecting on, I've just listened to the Elliot Rodger diary or journal read out on a channel. I listened to the whole lot. I thought it was really fascinating. And I think it's amazing that he actually left this behind, because it catalogues all the thinking, all the sort of negative thinking and reflections and hopes and dashed desires and everything that went into actually fueling his hatred of people before he did this terrible act of killing 6 and injuring several others. So I just want to reflect on quite a few things really, because I feel almost qualified to talk about this, not because I'm a mass killer or because I've ever wanted to kill people because I couldn't have sex with beautiful women. No, not because of that, but in some ways I can empathise with some of the frustrations and feelings that he had. Because when I was a young man, I was no good with girls. But it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And the reason it didn't matter for me is because when I was a young man growing up, I was always interested in things. I grew up in the 70s and 80s, more the 70s. But in the 80s, when my hormones were starting to sort of really get fired up, I was interested in computers. And to be honest with you, I was so busy programming computers and reading books about them and doing that kind of thing. And I used to hang around arcades a lot, and I had friends that I went to play snooker with, and lots of different things that sort of gave me a sort of full life, even though I didn't have a girl in it. So, there were girls that I was interested in, but to be honest with you, I was sort of too immature. I was like a late starter, so it wasn't really a big problem when I saw beautiful girls that I liked. I didn't have this sort of deep pain inside that, oh my God, that's what I want, and I'm going to have to become rich to attract a girl like that. I didn't have that. I didn't have those thoughts because I had too many things going on in my life. And at the back of my mind was the thought that eventually I'll come good, that I will develop as a person, and then eventually it will kind of all happen for me anyway. I had this confidence inside that would happen. So my short-term lack of success with women wasn't really a problem, right? And I was a virgin effectively until I was about 25, 26. And here's Elliot Rodger, and when he was 21 he did this. He didn't really give himself a chance, did he? He didn't really. If he could have just been patient, then it probably would have happened for him, because let's face it, he's not that bad looking a guy. Some of the incels out there on the internet, they're really unattractive, and you can imagine why women wouldn't be interested in them. And not only are they unattractive, they're also horrible, self-entitled people, misogynistic, patriarchal leaning, the whole lot. So, one can see why they fail. With Elliot Rodger, he wasn't really that bad looking a guy, and I can only imagine that he must have been putting out some really negative energy that girls just weren't interested in him, it seems. Or he didn't know what to say to them. He didn't say the right things to them. He wasn't kind and good with them unconditionally. That's the thing. If he was going to be kind and good with girls, it would be in the hope of getting something in return. And girls can sense that. They've got a radar for these kind of sleazy schmucks, that think they're due a beautiful woman. If they can, I'll be nice to you, but if you'll be nice to me. No. The way forward is to be nice to them unconditionally, do nice things for them, and don't give them the idea that you want anything in return. And you shouldn't want anything in return. But obviously he didn't see things that way, and he had reasons why he believed that he was entitled to a sexy girl. He believed that he was like the ultimate gentleman. He believed that he was better than these other guys that were dating these good-looking girls. I don't know what gave him that idea, except that I gather that he grew up in a fairly wealthy family. There's some talk about You know, when they visit England, they're staying in top quality hotels, they're eating in top quality restaurants, flying first class, and then back in America, his mum buys him a better car, a better BMW, and I get the impression that he was spoiled a lot as he was growing up. He grew up with a fairly wealthy family, and maybe that's the basis of him thinking that he's better than other people and more entitled than others to an attractive woman. He believes, he talks about, without exception, all the other guys who are going out with these girls. You know, he insults them. He says that, I can't remember what he calls them, but he berates the whole lot of them, says they're no good, and how could these girls possibly go with these schmucks and these horrible guys? But he doesn't really give any reasons why they're horrible and why the girls shouldn't be going out with them. And if he maybe had looked at these guys, maybe he could have learned something from them about how they are with the girls. I mean, maybe the reason that they did well with the girls is because they could make them laugh. Yeah, maybe that's the reason. Girls like humour. They like to laugh. They'd rather be with an amusing guy than, you know, some kind of serious, inward-looking guy like Elliot Rodger, who thinks that if he buys a $200 Hugo Boss shirt, it's going to make him look better than those guys. And it didn't make any difference. That was I hate to say this, but I was laughing through a lot of it because, you know, he was buying these expensive sunglasses, expensive shirt, and he went out in the shopping malls and nobody paid him any attention. Well, I mean, surprise, surprise, because a $200 Hugo Boss shirt, really, all you're doing is paying for the brand, aren't you? It doesn't really look any better than a sort of $20 shirt, probably. But he thought that, ultimately he thought that if he could become mega rich, because he didn't have the personality that could get beautiful girls, he thought that he could buy women. He thought that women, this is where he thinks that women are, this hypergamy idea that, you know, women are always trying to trade up, are trying to buy up beyond themselves, and that the way that he estimated women is that he couldn't attract them with his appearance, with his personality, but he might be able to get them with his money. Now, he had some money, his parents are wealthy, but he needed to be a mega rich person in order to attract these girls. Why he thought he had any chance of winning the lottery, I don't know. Unless he had some kind of strange supernatural belief that somebody was looking out for him and that eventually it would all come good and he would be handed this mega millions lottery win on a plate. And there were two that he did, and he bought $100 worth of tickets on each occasion, and of course he lost both. And he put too much faith, in my opinion, in winning these. He had too much confidence, unwarranted confidence, in actually winning these lotteries, which would open everything up for him. And I mean, let's suppose that he had won, say, $50 million, bought the mansion, bought the open top Porsche top model, you know, bought mega sunglasses and all the expensive aftershave. Yeah, so he could have bought all those things. He could have had all the trappings of wealth, and he could have flaunted them. And yeah, it might have worked to some extent. I mean, there would be a proportion of girls that might think, yep, that guy's made it. He's a real provider. He's got all the money in the world. Why not? And yeah, he might have found somebody, but he might not have found some of the girls that he really liked, those that were not maybe so impressed with appearances and were looking for something a bit deeper. He might not have been able to get the girls that he really wanted. He would have attracted gold diggers, if he attracted anybody at all. So what else happened? What else sort of stood out for me? The unwarranted anger and rage against Stacey's and Chad's. In other words, the girls that he wants and the guys that are getting them when he's not. He had this terrible rage against them, and that's something which I find it difficult to relate to, because again, I mean, at a point where I started really desiring to be with an attractive woman, say in my mid-20s, when you know, once I'd sort of got my career going, I was in business, money was starting to come in, I was starting to establish myself, and then I started finding that, you know, finding a girlfriend is actually harder than I thought it was going to be. And I concluded in the end that I wasn't really quite good looking enough to sort of, you know, get some of the girls like some of the guys do. Maybe I didn't have enough confidence, maybe I wasn't funny enough, this kind of thing. And of course I did find somebody eventually, and then I found another, and things kind of worked out for me. But I could never really get the sort of, you know, top class, really hot girls. I mean, I admit that. No, they just don't go for me. But I mean, that's something that I was prepared to accept. I mean, at some point in life, you've got to think, okay, well, you know, maybe in life you can't have absolutely everything that you really desire. I mean, that's just how it is. But he wanted, I mean, he wasn't prepared to come down a notch or two. Just like he had a flatmate. And this made me laugh. This flatmate brought a girl back one day, and they were in the room laughing, and he could hear, and he was getting enraged, thinking, you know, that fat dude, he's my friend and everything, but he's in there with a girl, and I've never been able to get a girl in my room. And then when eventually he saw the girl, and he said, you know, she was fat and she was not attractive. Once she was out of the way, he said he felt better immediately when he saw how unattractive she was. And he told the guy, he said, don't look down on me because, you know, you've got a fat, ugly girlfriend and I wouldn't touch her with a barge pole. You know, I thought that was really nasty. You know, a really nasty little person Elliot Rodger was. I had a friend who, when I was about 14, 15 in school, you know, we both used to sort of talk about girls, which girls do we like, and, you know, he liked this girl called Sasha, this beautiful girl. She was way out of his league at school. I mean, she was just way out of his league. He was a tall, wiry kid with a little face, you know, great big glasses, little head, curly hair, tiny little chin. And I mean, you know, I mean, he even looked less impressive than I did. But he liked this Sasha, and of course she was an issue. But he did find somebody, and to be honest with you, he found this tiny little dumpy girl, and, you know, he's really proud of her. He had a girlfriend. And do you think I laughed in his face and said, oh, I haven't got anybody, but I wouldn't go out with that horrible fat cow that you're going out? Do you think I would say that to him? Of course not. And I didn't say that to him. I mean, I was delighted for him that he'd found somebody, even though I had nobody. So, I mean, you know, and yet this guy was just sort of poison. And I wonder what the source of that was. As I said, it comes back to the parental upbringing. He had a bit of, his parents had money. They bought him stuff. They kind of enabled him a bit, and kind of snowballed. And he started thinking that when things started going wrong for him, he had these very strong sexual desires, very, very strong desires in his teen years, which I didn't have. That's the thing. I didn't really, as I said, I was sort of interested in other things. I did eventually, but, you know, and he couldn't fulfill those desires. And I get where he's coming from, because I, as a young man, spent summers alone when couples were out walking, and, you know, I was looking at couples and thinking, oh God, you know, I wish I had somebody. But I then didn't start thinking, I'm due somebody, I'm entitled to somebody, not only that, a really beautiful woman, and these bastards, I'm going to kill them all, because if I can't have them, nobody's going to have them. No, I didn't go to that level. I just went back to my, you know, and I just brooded a bit, and then I kind of got on with things, and then did something else. So I just lived through the frustration. I mean, what else can you do? I mean, I still live through the frustration. I'm 60 odd years old. I've been married, you know, I've had numerous partners, etc. And I mean, even though I'm 60, I sometimes, you know, I see younger women and I still fancy them, but you know, I'm a busy person. I've got stuff to do. I just accept, well, you know, I mean, that's just how life is. We can't always have what we want, and that's tough. But I still try to be positive, and I try to be a useful person in life, and I try to be nice to people, whatever the situation is, without wanting anything in return. And that's one difference between me and Elliot Rodger, because he would only be nice to people if he thought he could get something in return. But yeah, coming back to this diary, I'll see if I can put a link in the description so you can go and listen to it. It's very well read out, actually. very well read out, and I would recommend listening to it. Let me just have one last thing. Anything left to say? Oh yeah, one thing that amused me was that when he went to Colchester in England, a Roman city, quite a historical city, and he said that he saw a lot of nice. He said he saw a lot of pretty girls around, and nice as well. I mean, he said they're nice. These English girls are nice, not like these stuck-up American bitches. I don't know. I mean, maybe he would have been better off being brought up in the UK, and maybe he would have been, and he wouldn't have done what he did, because I know that in America, especially on social media, everybody flaunts their happiness and their success. Look, I'm not excusing what he did at all, but maybe had he grown up in Britain, maybe that wouldn't have happened. Who knows? Okay, well that's all for now, and I don't know. I mean, there's so much more to say about this, but I won't do. I think I've said enough. Okay, goodbye for now.